Every December, a familiar sentence floats through millions of homes. I just want to make this Christmas special. It sounds innocent, loving, even selfless. It's the voice of a parent trying to create magic, a partner trying to hold things together, a family member hoping to give a moment of joy, maybe more joy than they ever got growing up. That sentence doesn't come from greed, it comes from love. But somewhere between the Hallmark version of the holidays and the real life checkout counter, something quietly changes. Love starts to feel measured, joy starts to feel expensive, and the pressure to do enough begins to outweigh the simple act of being present. In America, making memories has become a product, not a feeling, not a tradition, a product. Carefully packaged, aggressively marketed, emotionally targeted. Every December, the machine wakes up and starts whispering, "You're behind. You should be doing more. It won't feel like Christmas without this." Picture this. It's late, the kids are asleep, the house is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. You're standing in a store under fluorescent lights that make everything feel a little unreal. The cart is fuller than you planned. You told yourself you were just looking. You check the total, and there's a pause. Not long, just long enough to feel it. The card goes in, approved. And what you feel isn't joy, it's relief. Relief that you didn't disappoint anyone, relief that you didn't fail the moment, relief that you can stop thinking about it for now. Because what we're really buying in those moments isn't a gift. It's relief from guilt, relief from comparison, relief from the fear that love is somehow on the line. This episode isn't about blaming families for caring too much. It's about naming the pressure, naming the shame, naming the emotional manipulation baked into the season, and asking a harder question. What if love was never supposed to come with interest?
Welcome, folks. Welcome to Give Me Credit, the show where we talk honestly about money, credit, and the emotional decisions that follow us home long after the holidays are over. I'm John Mackey, a credit educator and a consumer advocate with more than 3 decades inside the credit, mortgage, and debt collection system. What I've learned over those decades is simple, uncomfortable. Most financial damage doesn't come from irresponsibility. It comes from pressure, from silence, from good people trying to do the right thing inside a system designed to profit from their care. Joining me is my co-host, J.S. Waldo. J.S., how are you?
I'm good, John. Thank you. How are you doing today?
Just lovely.
Excellent.
She is a veteran mortgage underwriter with over 30 years of experience reviewing real loan files, real spending patterns, and real consequences. JS sees where emotional decisions land months or years later, when people are trying to move, refinance, or just breathe. Today's conversation is built around an essay that I wrote on Substack titled, "Why Are We Going Broke Trying to Make Memories?" This episode is the conversation behind that piece. Christmas shouldn't come with a balance.
Yeah, there's a line in your Substack piece, John, that stopped me cold, made me stop and think. You wrote, "Somewhere between the Hallmark fantasy and the real checkout counter, love becomes a liability." What were you trying to say there?
I was trying to say that love gets expensive in America. Nobody wakes up in December thinking, how can I do damage to myself this month? But we're surrounded by messages telling us that if we don't buy enough, do enough, spend enough, We're failing the love, to love the people. And the scary part is it doesn't feel reckless.
Oh no, it feels responsible when you're in that moment.
Exactly. It feels loving. It feels like being a good parent, a good
Mhm.
partner, a good provider. And that's the trap, because debt doesn't show up wearing a villain costume. It shows up wrapped in paper with a bow.
Yeah. You talk a lot about shame in this essay, which I'm very happy you do. But where does that come from?
Um, Comes from a comparison. We don't just celebrate holidays anymore. We perform them. Social media, commercials, family expectations. They create an invisible scoreboard. And if money is tight, shame gets loud fast.
Yeah, and the kids aren't the ones asking for that performance.
No, they're not.
Mm-mm.
Kids want warmth. They want hugs. They want laughter. They want safety. But adults want proof.
Yeah, as I was reading Why Are We Going Broke? Trying to Make Memories, there was another question that kept coming up for me. And it's an uncomfortable one, but it's real. Why do we live in a world where buying gifts feels more urgent than keeping food on the table or even a roof over your heads? Those thoughts aren't even there. It doesn't even come to thoughts of building something better for the future.
You know, you're so right and so observant. It's because the system taught us that love is something you prove, not something you protect.
Hmm.
We'll skip groceries in January just to justify December. How about ramen noodles for the month of January? We'll carry balances instead of savings. We'll sacrifice housing stability and future opportunity just to avoid the shame of showing up with not enough. Somehow, a toy under the tree feels more urgent than food in the fridge. That's not personal failure. That's conditioning.
Yet, as you mentioned, being in the mortgage industry for so long and involved in people's credit lives, I see the cost of that years later.
Yeah.
I don't think people really connect the dots. When you're in the middle of it, you're in the middle of it. So what does it look like when it finally shows up?
It looks like missed opportunity. Apartment applications denied. Refinances that don't work. Emergencies that turn into disasters because there's absolutely no financial flexibility left. Holiday and holiday debt doesn't stay seasonal. It becomes structural.
And again, kids don't remember receipts.
No, they don't. They remember atmosphere. Kids don't remember Christmas. They remember how Christmas felt in the house. They remember stress. They remember tension. They remember whether the adults could breathe. And they pick up on this.
Yeah.
No child has ever said, well, your interest rate told me they loved me.
So true. So if someone's listening right now and feeling called out, I mean, that's not what this is.
No, this is permission. Permission to stop performing. Permission to choose stability over spectacle. Permission to understand that love does not need proof.
When you really sit with this, and I've done this a few times, your piece was brilliant, by the way. When you really sit with this, it's heartbreaking. People are choosing gifts over groceries, one day over a lifetime.
They're living for today and forgetting about tomorrow. And it's not because they don't value food, shelter, or a future, but because they were taught love only counts when it's purchased. And that is in the subconscious. But food is on the table is love.
Mm.
A stable home is love. A future that isn't buried in debt is love.
Yeah.
Before we end this short episode, I want to speak directly to you. If you're listening and feeling heavy, if part of you is replaying decisions you already made, if you're thinking, I wish I'd heard this sooner, this is not blame. Most people don't overspend during the holidays because they're careless. They overspend because they care deeply, that they've been told they care must be proven with money. Love was never meant to compete with survival. Joy was never meant to threaten stability. Memories were never meant to come with interest. If this holiday looks smaller on the outside but calmer on the inside, you didn't fail. You won. Kids don't need perfection. They need presence. Your presence. Your location. They need adults who aren't constantly bracing for the next bill. Choosing stability is a gift that keeps giving, long after the decorations are gone. You're allowed to protect your future, because love never asked you to go broke. Love wants you and asks you to stay. Before we wrap up, a quick word about the voices you heard today. My name is John Mackey. I'm a credit expert, educator, and consumer advocate with more than 3 decades inside the credit and mortgage system. I'm FICO certified, and I write regularly about credit, debt, and consumer finance on Substack. So my address location is creditgenius.substack.com. And, as we've heard, the profound J.S. Waldo, a veteran mortgage underwriter with over 30 years of experience reviewing real loan files and real financial outcomes. And if you don't take advantage of her perspective and her expertise, it's a loss for you. You can find her writing on Substack at jswaldo.substack.com, like you see on the screen. This is Give Me Credit. And this year, let's stop asking how much we spent and start asking what we protected, because presence lasts longer than presence.